Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Beyond Product podcast. My name is Moshe Mikanovsky, and I'm your host. We're here again at DMZ, one of the leading incubators in Toronto. My guest today is Nino Melikidze, co-founder and CEO of Immitracker, The Ways of Immigration. Immitracker is an immigration application tracker and a community for immigrants relocating to leading countries, starting with Canada and Australia. It's one of the largest immigration tech platforms in both of these countries, with a WhatsApp community that spans close to 9,000 active members. With background in startup and tech space, specializing in operations and processes, digital project management, and product ownership, the entrepreneurship journey started in 2018, with a focus on the immigration space from 2021. In 2024, received the Most Resilient Entrepreneur Award from Yeti, York Entrepreneurship Development Institute. Earlier this year, Founders Beta listed Immitracker as one of the fastest growing early stage startups in Canada, as well as mentioned Nino as one of the top female founders and leaders. Welcome to the podcast, Nino.
Thank you so much for having me.
Such a pleasure having you over here. I'm an immigrant myself, although it's been a few years. So I've gone through some of the trial and tribulations of immigration processes. So I know a bit about that from
pain.
personal experience. Yes, absolutely. I was here, though, when I went through immigration. So I know many people are doing it from abroad, and then they have to check things from over there.
Yeah.
But part of being in the process is also to find people like you in the community and compare it with them. But before that, I always have to share like my personal touch to the problem in hand. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so like you, I'm also an immigrant, and that is what inspired me to get into the space. As you know, it's a rather tumultuous journey, starting from the moment that you decide you want to move abroad, from things going your way or not going your way every once in a while, you having to adjust the process. And I think it's probably one of the most transformative things a person can go through. And I like to call myself a serial immigrant because I lived in three different countries after leaving Georgia, and the third one ended up being Canada. And that's where I figured out how to actually become a permanent resident and stay here.
Yeah.
And then I built myself a life here that I'm rather happy with.
Yeah.
That background, along with my background in tech, because I've been working in the tech industry since 2016, is what really got me working in the immigration tech space.
So you took a personal problem that you were experiencing and you made it into your life mission to help others in the same. Because you're now, are you already a citizen of Canada?
Yes, I became a citizen in 2023.
Amazing. So you're a citizen. So to me, when I became a citizen after a very long year, and I won't get into my story because it's a very long story, but I was like, okay, now I forget about this and I can focus on my life. But you kind of took that to try to help others.
Well, the thing is that, so my journey started off in the US as an international student, and I don't know how much you know about the US immigration policies.
That was the other country I was before. I was there on H-1B visa.
That's the one I didn't get.
Yeah. And it was limited to 6 years.
Yep.
So the reason I came to Canada because it expired.
And then nobody gave you a green card?
And I was in the process of getting a green card, and then the company moved, and I didn't have a sponsor anymore.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Mine was, I did my undergrad there. My university made a mistake, and instead of giving me a 3-year OPT or like temporary work permit, they gave me a 1-year one instead. So after 1 year, I had to either get the H-1B, or which was a lottery process, as you know, 30% chance of getting it first time.
Oh,
okay. In
They changed
2016, it
it?
was already, because there were so many people applying.
I'm talking 1996, so it's been a while.
But it wasn't a lottery then because there was more than enough spots and few applicants. The
Yes.
thing is that since 1996 and 2016, they have not updated the immigration policies. So the same amount of seats are allocated to 3-4 times more people.
I see.
So I didn't get the H-1B from my first attempt, and my company was like, well, we can't move you to another country like the US right now, so how about we move you to South America? So I ended up a year in Colombia, and after Colombia, they were like, no, you're better suited for the North American market, so they moved me to Canada and Vancouver. So that's how I ended up in Canada, and afterwards I was like, I kind of want to take control of my own immigration because this is terrifying. So like you, I did my paperwork once I was here.
It is. And here in Toronto, we're very much an immigration society. Most of the people I work with and do business with are immigrants.
Absolutely.
And I also teach in the university. Most of them are immigrants. And I'm involved in different programs, like there is a startup visa program for immigrants to come to Canada. So it is definitely a core thing that a lot of people are experiencing.
Yes, and also, like, I always keep saying, like, Canada's population surpassed 40 million people in 2023, and that was primarily driven by immigration
Yes.
because there is no way our population grew that much organically. People are not having enough kids
Yes.
for that.
Yeah.
The economy is not good enough for people to be having 5
Yeah.
kids everywhere. So, immigration played a very big role, I think, in the Canadian culture. And why this problem was very personal to me is because of that journey. And a funny thing is that a previous version of the platform we have right now, I used it for my own immigration journey back in
Ah,
2018. And then in
interesting.
2022, we acquired it and rebuilt it into a different company. So
So this is a very interesting way into entrepreneurship, specifically for Immitracker, because you
yeah,
acquired it and
yeah,
continued that journey.
yeah.
Let's touch on this in a bit, because first I want for the audience, and maybe actually through explaining what it was before, what is it now.
Sure.
What does Immitracker do?
So, like you mentioned in the intro, Tracker, we call it the ways of immigration. Essentially, it's an immigration application tracker and analytical tool for people to anonymously enter their case data for different visas or immigration programs or for citizenship and
Hmm.
contrast and compare those cases with each other to see where they're at in their journey,
Hmm.
and then use the predictive analytics to figure out when they'll be approved and when they'll reach their next stage.
Hmm.
So, for example, you and I both applied for Canadian citizenship. We don't know what we're going to get it. We've been waiting for way too long.
Hmm.
We go and we see like, okay, your case has been taking 6 months, mine's been taking 8 months. We both applied from Toronto. Clearly, Toronto's really slow these days.
Hmm.
And that's the type of information immigrants are looking for, right?
Okay.
And on top of that, we have a WhatsApp community, like you mentioned. And what we do is that we have over 20 subgroups in that WhatsApp community, each group dedicated to a specific program where people can go ahead and talk about their process. Like, hey guys, did anybody receive this approval? Or did you get an email like this? Or how did you submit this
Mm.
document? And it's really a support system because, like you mentioned,
The
immigration is all
community.
about the community.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's primarily what a tracker does.
I see. Okay. And with that, what made you acquire it? That's an interesting.
So very good question. I'm not sure how much you know about the immigration space, but it's a very old school industry, right?
Mhm.
Like you have your immigration law firms that like you have your Canada visas and your Greenwich Beagles and a few others that have been around like
Yes.
since the 70s, 80s, 90s. So the space is very like controlled by a few players. Then you have like sites that are very helpful, like moving to Canada, but they've been around for quite some time too. So
Mhm.
breaking into the space when you have so many like so few but very powerful players controlling it is very hard. And I was building an employment service marketplace for immigrants before this. And when I met my co-founder, our idea was that if we took a platform like Tracker that was already known for tracking purposes
Mhm.
and built on top of it and added more features and a
Mhm.
community to it,
Mhm.
we could expand quicker because that platform was already somewhat known among immigrants.
See.
And our assumption was correct because we don't spend any money on marketing. For
Mm.
example, we still organically acquire users. So we
Mhm.
took that foundation of what it was and we just built on top of it and made it better and added features that actually enabled users to interact with it more because
Right.
it was dying down. We
Right.
acquired it.
And what I find fascinating about this is until now, all of my guests were starting from scratch. And that's what most entrepreneurs
Yeah,
do. They start from scratch. But there are other ways into
absolutely.
founding an organization, founding
Yeah.
entrepreneurship. And maybe the previous owner of that kind of didn't see the vision that you saw, that is much bigger than what they've
He
done.
wanted to try something different. This
Or
was his
exactly, it
passion
was,
project for a few
yeah.
years, and he's like, "I don't wanna do this anymore."
Amazing. So you found the opportunity and
Yeah,
you're taking it farther.
yeah.
I really love that. And are there any unique challenges in that? Or I'm sure you have things to compare with stories from other people or from previous experiences, but doing it that way.
So the unique challenges are that you get handed everything that was done, right? So you're
Mm,
trying to figure out like what is relevant to you and what is irrelevant to you. So I
mhm,
remember, so I started companies from scratch as well, right? So I know what it's like when it's entirely my vision. I built a product, I adjust however I see fit.
mhm,
But here I was merging my old immigration startup
mm,
and this platform into
mhm,
one thing that's basically like a Frankenstein, like it's a new
mm.
company that you're birthing, but out of
Yes.
pieces
Yes.
and figuring out what is relevant to you, what is not relevant to you. Like we've basically rebuilt most of the platform at this point,
Hmm.
right? Because there's like some sort of like older tech that was used, or maybe like there's features that are no longer relevant. Maybe somebody thought of something one day, they tossed it in there, they forgot about it.
Hmm.
And then it comes up and you're like, I never needed this.
Right.
So
Right.
the unique challenges are really truly sitting down and figuring out what is relevant for our audience, which direction do we want to take this company down, and like a patchwork quilt, like taking the bits and pieces and putting them together and hoping it like sticks.
Hmm. Hmm.
Essentially, it's
Yeah.
very different from starting from scratch.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I'm so curious about that. That's really fascinating. And one of the things that you mentioned to me before, also, that it's actually quite sticky for the
Yeah.
users. What made it that stickiness? Because to me, once I got through my immigration process, I'm done. That's it.
Hmm.
So what makes that more sticky?
Well, let's begin with the fact that most people have several touch points with the immigration process, right?
Hmm.
First, they have their visa, whether it's like you are on H-1B in the US, and I don't know which visa you came in on here, but like it might
Yeah.
have been a work permit, for
Yes.
example, right?
Yes.
And then after that, you're probably applying for your permanent residence, which is another process. And by the way, each
Yes.
of those can take months,
Yeah.
sometimes up
For
to
me,
a
it was
year.
years. For me, it was years.
Yeah, I think you mentioned.
Right.
So, yeah, and you're constantly coming back to that platform. And
I
then
see.
after that, you're going for your citizenship.
Yes.
So that's just three processes. And
Right.
I'm not even counting the spousal sponsorship, which a lot of
Right.
people also do spousal sponsorship because
Yeah.
their spouse might be from abroad too.
Yes.
So that's the fourth process that they end up doing. So
Mm.
as a result, over a span of like 10 years, you're regularly returning to this
I
platform and
see.
spending six
I
to
see.
12 months on it every single time.
So it's a long term. It's not like for life, maybe, but it's still a
It's
long
still long
term.
term.
And the organic part of it is also interesting because I know when newcomers come here and they ask me about do I know, so I always refer them to things I know that work for me.
Exactly.
And then I'm sure people also refer new users to the
I
platform.
have days when I log into the WhatsApp community and one of the groups, maybe somebody sends the link to the group somewhere, and I have like 50 requests to join the group because I
Mm.
manually add everybody to ensure there's no spam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because sometimes there's spam and stuff. So I
Yeah.
check every profile, 50 requests in a
Hmm.
day
Hmm.
because like somebody like tossed it in somewhere.
Mm.
Or like, for example, you'll see like lower traffic for some time and all of a sudden like somewhere somebody will start talking about it and like a traffic will spike for a month because
Hmm.
it's all about like the flow, right? Like what programs are people going through most actively? Like
Yes.
what programs is
Yes.
the government selecting right now? And where this link accidentally ends up. But a lot
Yes.
of people just go like on forums, like they'll go on the Canada Visa forum, or they'll go on Reddit, or they'll go to the WhatsApp communities,
Mhm.
and they'll be like, "Where can I see like more data?
Right.
What is your timeline?" That's the most popular question, and then you can just go to Immitracker and compare a bunch of these
Mm.
cases.
Do you know if anyone from the government is also looking into it?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, they're more than welcome to look into it. It's just that what we're showing is information that they probably don't want to be showing because they have no incentive in showing you and me what is the difference in the processing times between our cases. Because if mine is
Mhm.
taking 4 months, is yours is taking 12, you probably have questions why they're taking 4 months.
Yes, exactly. I always had those questions, and like I mentioned, my process took very, very long time. And every time that I ask a question to someone,
Yeah.
either through the formal channels or through informal channels like your MPP
Yeah.
or MPs, they would. I felt that they took after every time like that. I don't have any evidence for that, but I felt they took my file and put it to the bottom of the list just to punish me for asking those questions. That's how I felt.
If you look in the community, you will hear everything, right? Like people will like try to do a mandamus, which is when they like sue the government to accelerate their case because
Mm,
they really went over the processing times.
yes.
Like let's say
Yeah.
your average processing time estimate is like 8 months and yours has been taken a year and 8 months, you can definitely do a mandamus. Then it just costs money and you need to get a lawyer.
Exactly. And who wants to get through that?
Well, if you really
Some
need
people do.
if you need your papers, then
Yeah.
you'll do it.
Yeah.
If you have a
Yeah.
work permit that's expiring, or like you can't really travel because you need to get your citizenship, or
Yeah.
maybe your passport expired, or maybe from the country that you can't go back to. There's a lot of factors, right?
Yeah.
And then you will go ahead and you'll do the mandamus, or like people will email their MPs. But I feel like the MPs got tired of that too because everybody knows the MP route. So MPs like, yeah, your case will happen eventually.
I know. I know. Um, Tell us a bit about your founder journey
Mm.
and what did you learn in the process?
So, first time I attempted entrepreneurship was in 2018. I was still living in Colombia, then I moved to Vancouver.
Mhm.
And what I realized that every time I moved, it was really difficult to immediately ramp up and build up a social circle of people that are relevant to you because it's hard. You're moving
Yeah.
to a new city, and I did that several times.
Yeah.
So I was working with my friend, and we were building an app that would help people connect based on similar interests and hobbies. Did that for like a year and a half while also working full time and then doing my immigration and all that. So there was a lot. Don't do that when you have that much on your plate. That's my
Hmm.
first tip because
Hmm.
I thought I was unstoppable. In reality, I was just exhausted for a year and a half
Hmm.
straight and then
Hmm.
had to do a hiatus for 6 months to like come back to my senses. And then the second company that I started was during the pandemic, which is at the end of 2020, beginning 2021.
Hmm.
I launched VisaWire, which was my endeavor in the immigration space. And along with that, I launched the My Immigrant Story podcast, and it was focused on immigrant success in Canada. Like, how do
Right.
immigrants find jobs, become successful,
Yeah.
build their careers? And through that, I built VisaWire, which eventually led to Immitracker in 2022.
I
No, no, definitely the first tips. The second tip is Be very mindful of the trends in the industries that you're looking into. Like, for example, if you're building a company and you're fully planning to rely on a fundraise in order to get it somewhere, just check. Are fundraisers really happening in that space right now?
Mm,
How easy or how difficult is it? Because the first company I wanted to build, it was purely a consumer play
mhm.
and it was in the social space. And that was in 2018. And people stopped funding that like a couple
I
of years
see.
back.
I see.
So fundraising for that, even a little bit, was
Mm,
very difficult because people were just not as interested in it unless you have
interesting.
like connections in the space and so forth,
Right.
right?
Right.
So being like kind of like NFX has a very good article about this. It's called the windows.
Mhm.
Like you need to be aware of which window you are building in. Like, are you in the window when this product is like taking
So
products
which
like
window is open at the moment?
yes,
Mhm.
exactly. Are you like in a window where the product is taking off right now, or are you at the tail end of it when the biggest like incumbents
Mm.
already came in and then like the 90 percentile is taken up and there's a little bit of space left for you, right?
Do you see this day? Excuse me. Do you see these days because of the AI
Yeah.
trend that everyone, doesn't matter which sector you are, which window is open in your space, just sticking the word AI on it is supposed to move you into a different window or open another
But
window?
it's a fad. Every time AI is staying, and we could talk about this
Hmm.
more later on, but I look at AI technology more like I see the internet, right? Like I'm seeing this as this like revolutionary tech that's like fully changing the way we're working. It's going to
Right.
be incorporated into everything in our lives. But that means like saying something has AI is like saying in the beginning of 2000s like something has internet. It's not that big. It's like everybody was saying like blockchain a few years ago, and if you had the word blockchain in somewhere, they were going to get funding. But truth
Hmm.
is like social media, for example, that window is mostly closed until we get to a new phase of like social media being done completely differently.
Hmm.
We haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
So that like you're going to be competing with the Instagrams and the TikToks and the Facebooks of the world if you're starting a social media app right
Mm.
now. So are you ready to do that? Like most of them don't even survive. What was the name of that one? Clubhouse lasted for
Yes.
a year, even though they raised how much, like over $100 million or something
Yes.
insane like that.
Yes.
So that, but then there's things like if you're using AI to innovate in a very outdated industry, or if you're doing health tech, oh my God, those windows are so open right now. That is the prime moneymaker if it
Mm.
exists.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's another lesson. And another one is like be very careful with consumer, like
Hmm.
when you're going B2C or D2C, but especially B2C,
Mm.
because a lot of times B2C companies scaled in the early 2000s because they had sufficient funding to bring it to a stage where they could start monetizing.
Mm.
Most of us actually start to make money now. We have to start making money now. A lot of us are bootstrapping. It's harder to raise for B2C now. You have to
Mhm.
show that you have money and traction and just be very cognizant of that. And don't start something just because you want to change the world, but be like, hey, is the math also working
Yes,
out?
yes. These are great tips, and there is a lot there to unpack. What I want to do is to move to our next section, which is about this new segment that we started recently, which is about workshopping a little on the podcast,
Yeah.
some type of a product challenge that you might have.
So many.
So, what would you like to workshop?
Oh, couple of things.
Mhm.
One is a feature that we literally just launched like over the past couple of weeks. We've been like slowly rolling it out. And essentially the feature we launched is that we're offering a 1 month free trial to our premium subscription
Mhm.
for users that contribute and their case information and add in their case, at least one case into any of the trackers. So just so you understand how the product is structured, all the
Mhm.
trackers are free. Access to them is free, like filtering, sorting, so forth. Like one analytical report is free, but like in-depth analytics and the rest of the analytical reports part of the premium subscription. So what we're saying is that as long as you give us at least a case so that we can have more data reported
Mhm.
on the platform and so that more stuff to analyze, obviously,
Right.
we will give you a 1 month free subscription.
I
So
see. Okay.
that's one thing that I'm looking to discuss because I'd like to see what kind of metrics I should be looking out for to see if this feature is performing well or affecting us negatively and so forth. Like, is it
Mm.
maybe going to affect subscriptions negatively?
Mhm.
Or do you think like we should reduce the time that we give the subscription for, like something like that? And
Mhm.
this, the trial for. And the second one is I'm thinking about doing like a mobile app maybe because what I've noticed is that a lot of users in our community on WhatsApp, they share screenshots of a time tracking app where they put a
Mhm.
bunch of their milestones and make it like a pretty colorful timeline and send a screenshot of that
Mhm.
rather than send a link to Immitracker because
Interesting.
that like visually looks better. So I'm like, maybe the next iteration should be like a mobile friendly version of the site where they can do that and like they can
Mhm.
download like a mobile app and be able to log their case so that we
Mhm.
drive more users in that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are
Okay.
the main things.
So let's talk maybe first, and this question is actually for both of those. What are the outcomes you're trying to get to? And maybe share with me a bit more. Are the outcomes more users to monetize on, or the outcome is opening up to new markets, or so what is it?
So two main outcomes that we're looking for, more users and more cases. So more case data. And the third one, which would be like based on those two, would be like more conversion to paid, but primarily more users and more case data. Those are the two main ones we're looking
Well, these are definitely the initial outcomes that I will look for, because this is what build the community. This is what build the data that you're collecting in order
for.
to give
Exactly.
proper information for
Exactly. And
the
that's what makes
tracking.
us invaluable because then nobody else has this data.
Exactly. Now let's flip it on the other side. What is the value or outcome for the users? Because at the end of the day, yes, you're building it for as a business, but you're
Building it for
also
them.
creating a product that has value, give value to the users. We know already that the value they're getting today is to find out, based on the information that you collect,
Yeah.
what is their what should they expect, so to understand their expectations. And we also know that the community aspect, to be able to talk with other people going through the same thing, maybe experts in the community and stuff like that. What other problems they might have for which they would want to come again to Immitracker? Did you identify other big chunk of problems that could
There's
help them?
so many. There are so many. I mean, you know how it is when you're an immigrant. Like, you have to go through settlement. You might need like an immigration lawyer, consultant if something's wrong with your paperwork or you got rejected or delayed. You need to find housing and or you might need to find service providers for different aspects of like banks or telcos and so forth. But my issue with that one, which is why I didn't particularly want to go down that route, is that I've seen users having a hard time looking at Tracker as a source for that information as well, because they more associate it with the tracking analytics and community. So if I send that information in the community, they do engage, but they don't organically think of like going to the market. I mean, we have a
Right.
marketplace. They just don't
Right.
go to it that
Right.
much.
So that's okay. I mean, you are solving one very specific
Yeah.
problem. There could be some connections with other services,
Absolutely.
partnership, etc., with other services in the market, but it is this one specific problem that you're
Exactly.
solving. And the question is how to engage more users into the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, that's really interesting, because you already found the value to them, and now it's really about making the value even stronger. Making the value even I don't know if there is a specific even a sub-segment of the segment of users you already have that might even find it even more valuable than what it is.
The more anxious ones, really.
The more anxious one.
The more anxious ones will be the ones buying the access to the analytics because they're looking to get like more insight into the data, have the data tell us. Because like if you go, you get the subscription, you get access to all kinds of different analytics. They'll tell you like breakdowns like by countries. These are the countries that have been applying the most. These are the longest wait times based on where you are, based on your nationality. So if you're very anxious and you need to get the full picture painted, those analytics will fully tell you what's happening right now.
So that's actually is really interesting, because my next question would be, if we're going into the psychology of the people and the personas of those ideal people that are part of that are those with high anxiety or with more, maybe it's not just anxiety, maybe it could be also more to lose because of their situation.
Exactly.
There could be different
And they
reasons.
could be tied down because of some reason and they like need that kind of freedom.
Exactly. So the question there would be, how can you get to those users even more? Because there might be ways to show them that their anxiety can be reduced, not just by the analytics they're getting and stuff like that, but maybe proactively giving them additional things.
That's a very good point.
Whether it is reminders to that even before their anxiety start, to remind them this is what's happening. So to give them those type of assurances that they will not even get to the anxiety.
It's like kind of like overview reports or like the state of what's happening.
Overview reports or reminders that will not even, because yes, they might come back when they feel the anxiety, but the question is, can you wow them by not even get to the anxiety? Because no one wants to feel anxiety. Anxiety is a feeling that people know they feel, but if they are aware of that, they also say, what can I do to prevent me feeling that in some cases, right?
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on anxiety, so
No, but
but I felt it myself,
you know
and
what you felt when you went through the process for sure.
exactly, and it's about how can and that's a part of a wow factor sometimes,
Mhm.
because this is the value they're coming here to get to reduce their anxiety, which is the why behind the why behind the why, right?
If
We're
you can
asking five
find
times
yeah.
why,
Yeah.
you know. So the why here, why they're using Imtracker, because they need to know, the status or
Yeah.
what other people are doing. Why they're doing that, because they
They're
are
in the
going through the
current
process of
process.
immigration.
Yeah.
Why they're doing that? Because they need their family to find a
Yes.
better place to
Yes.
be. Why they're doing that? Because they have anxiety where they come from.
Yeah.
So that's the five whys.
No, that's a very good point.
Mhm.
There's definitely opportunity to engage more actively. So like notifications or reminders, if there were to be a mobile version would make a lot of sense. Like
That could be a mobile version. It could be just also emails,
exactly.
notifications. You
Yeah.
should test it like anything else
Of course.
to
Yeah.
see what it is. And and then the mobile is an interesting one because mobile is become so common that everyone is using, and it's right there and
Yeah.
it's in their hands. So it does make sense to have something like that.
Especially because we see the popularity of, like,
Mm,
something as basic as a timeline tracking app,
hmm
which people are just they're putting in the data themselves, they're coloring it however they want, and I'm like, if they're already using this, it would be most likely a very simple transition to get them to do that, and we had a similar UI in a mobile version.
mm.
So, it would all go to the same trackers and everything, but make it easier for them to contribute the case and still take those screenshots they wanna be taking.
And on the back end of that, you will get the data for all of those
Exactly.
timelines, right?
Exactly.
So, and then maybe even you can present the data in the same format
Mhm.
that they put it in
Mhm.
to compare theirs with others. Like, how
Exactly.
do I vary it from other and stuff like that in the
Yeah,
timeline or whatever that
and
is.
especially if they contributed their case, they're gonna get a free trial anyway
Yeah,
based on,
yeah,
this feature that we just rolled out.
yeah.
Whether we're
Mhm.
gonna keep it for a month or we're gonna reduce it to a week later on, I'll see, but for now, 1 month is fine, and it's actually been crazy. This feature has been live for, like, less than 10 days, and there is dozens upon dozens of trials going on right now,
Mhm.
so people really started contributing their cases.
So you see that it actually
Yeah.
they are
Yeah,
willing
it's
to
working.
give the information
Yeah,
for that free information that they're
exactly.
giving back.
I'm okay with taking the subscription hit for now if that means more data because I think more of that kind of data is
Yeah.
significantly more valuable.
But you need the data on an ongoing basis because the data that was valid a month ago might not be valid anymore now.
Well, those cases get the trial is conditional, right? Like first of all, if they delete their case within a month, within the trial month, their trial gets deactivated.
Mm,
So the case has to stay. And the thing is that the cases get delisted if they don't get updated regularly.
mm.
We have a reminder every 45 to 50
Oh, I
days.
see. Okay.
No, yeah, we don't keep old
I
data. It
see.
doesn't make sense.
So, yeah, exactly. So it's basically, it's not just putting it on the first day and forget about it. It's
No.
on an ongoing
And we
basis.
give them
What
reminders,
is
right?
their
Yeah.
status right now?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see.
we set
Okay.
them reminders, be like, "Hey, your case is gonna get delisted.
Mm,
Is it
mm,
still active? If it's active, just click the button." Because a lot of times they don't receive an update within 45
yeah.
days, but you just have to click the button
Yeah.
and that's it.
Have you ever considered doing success cases with some users to see how using image tracker through that process make their life easier, whether it is by reducing that anxiety,
Mm,
etc., etc.
like a case study type of thing?
Yeah, a case study that would also maybe show other people that will learn from that experience of others that came before them. If I will do all of that now, yeah, it will be helpful for me as well. Because sometimes
Mhm.
people might think, I'm giving you the data. Is it really helpful for me?
Mm,
Or is it just helpful for you to build your data models?
maybe
Where,
they're contributing because 'cause they're comparing, right? Like, if nobody contributes the case, what are you comparing it to? If
of
they're
course,
already sharing that
but maybe not
information with
everyone see that. And that's where
fair, yeah.
you give them the free subscription and they are like, oh, okay, so it's free to me, so I will do that.
Yeah.
But when we ask people to pay, to put their money down, we want to make sure we also give them a value that they're
You're
coming for
right,
that
yeah.
and they're willing to pay for it. So maybe there are different ways to look into that.
Yeah.
What is that value and how people actually got the value from it?
No, for sure. I have thought about doing something like those, like testimonials in the past. The honest answer is like just never got around to
Mm,
it, but
hmm
that is a possibility. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a massive like even today. I just haven't had the time because I've been busy to check the community within the past day or so.
Hmm.
I have like over 5 unread messages from one user that has like so many suggestions
Yeah.
that he just sent
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And is like, wait, can you like please respond? Like, is this something you can do? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, there's 9,000 of you. I can't respond all the time. But it's
Yeah.
just like
But
a list of suggestions that this person was asking to incorporate to make their experience better.
I had a discussion recently, which is a kind of touch on what you just mentioned about pre-product market fit and post-product market fit. Where pre-product market fit, it's an uphill battle. You kind
Yeah.
of like push it and it's very hard.
Yeah.
After the product market fit, there's so many people asking you to do things and requests and
Hmm.
stuff like that. You have to run after the ball all the time. And if you
It's,
don't run after it, someone else will. And
yeah.
and what you're describing reminds me of that. So it seems like you do have, based on everything we discussed, it seems like you do have a product market fit
Product
because
market fit,
people need
yes.
that.
The issue is definitely more, like I mentioned earlier, it's still primarily B2C startup. We're pivoting a bit more to B2B to like find better monetization
Oh,
strategies. We're a bootstrap company. We have not taken a single dollar of
mm,
investment. And as primarily consumer-based company that has subscriptions, it's just not enough to go. So this is where the problem is not the product working or the users using it. The
hmm
problem is monetization.
hmm
And that has been my biggest headache for the past 2 years, I would say.
yeah. And I do see that also companies are trying to get into B2B because it's supposed to be easier to get that monetization because companies will pay for a
I mean,
service. But yes, exactly. And consumers also, in many cases, with digital products, they are kind of like used and spoiled to have free products. Um, and but it's also people have limited resources. Not everyone can afford to pay a
yeah.
lot of money. And B2B in this case could be really interesting as well
Yeah.
with all the marketplace of providers that can help in that way.
Yeah, we do a little bit of that. So we call that the B2B2C model, and we work with service providers.
Hmm.
And we like if they want to do marketing campaigns or if they want to be listed on the platform,
Hmm.
we charge them like on an ad hoc basis, or we like sign a contract for a few months. So that's one thing we do.
Hmm.
And then we have a purely B2B play where we're looking to work with employers that have a lot of immigrant employees or higher education institutions like TMU,
Mm,
for example, that have a big international student
yes.
population. Or we're also considering immigration law firms and consultancies that have a massive like volume of immigrants whose case are being processed to give them access to this
Yeah.
tool. It's actually funny. One of my friends, he is working with a big law firm here in Toronto for his spousal sponsorship case,
Hmm.
and he still used Tracker because they didn't give him timelines.
Mm,
They were like, "Oh, the estimate is on the government
yeah.
site," and then he
Yeah.
was like, "I actually bought a subscription on your site for like a month to see how long it's been taking because
Uh-huh.
official, for example, spousal sponsorship, official government estimate is like 8 to 12 months, depending if it's inland or outland. Do you know what we've been seeing? 4 months.
Mm, yeah.
Nobody's going to tell you that,
Yeah.
and the law firm isn't telling him that, and we wanted to like figure
Why
out.
don't law firms use it on their own? Why don't they have a subscription fee with you
I asked them the same
for
thing.
and
Law firms don't use a lot of tech.
hmm,
They really don't. The
so
most tech they're
it's
going to use is like the CRM for their cases
mhm.
internally.
And that could be an interesting point there as well
Yeah.
because maybe you have ways to help them see the light by creating technology that will actually either be integrated with the ways they're doing things today.
That's exactly what we're thinking,
Okay,
yeah. We
I see.
wanted to do an API where we could integrate and take only anonymized, non-sensitive case data, just like the dates, that
Hmm.
could be, like, logged into Tracker and have them give access to this to their clients so that the
Hmm.
clients wouldn't email them every day, like, "What's the update on
Yeah,
my case?" The
yeah,
clients could check the timelines on Tracker.
very interesting. Um, so I hope some of the suggestions that came
No,
up
no, that
today
was useful. The
seems to be
notification,
helpful.
yeah, it's a good idea.
And I'm looking forward to see what you're implementing or what you're
Yeah.
trying, not implementing, because first you have to try and see what works, what doesn't work, and once you see things are working, then to
Yeah. The
implement them.
testimonials is a very low-hanging fruit. That's definitely something we can get started with.
And it also shows that product is not just about the technology; it's about many things around it.
Yeah,
And it's very hard to compete just on technology because
yeah.
other people can copy that technology
Mm,
quite easily. But it's really about everything around it,
mhm.
and you have a lot of touch points already and experience and data and those clients that are happy clients. And this is part of your unique value proposition.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
amazing. Before I move into the third section, I forgot to ask something in the first section. So the next question for the editor please put it in the first section before the workshop in the challenge. Um, we're here at DMZ, and I wanted to ask you also, how DMZ helped you with
Yeah.
your process.
Yes, so we went through the pre-incubator program, started in September last year, and it like wrapped up around April, end of
Hmm.
April. So the DMZ pre-incubator program was very useful because I had an incredibly helpful program lead. He has left the DMZ now, but we worked quite closely together while I was here. And he, like, really helped me identify some of the challenges that we had with, like, the breaking into the B2B space and helped us open up some doors in terms of, like, conversations with the TMU staff about who is working, like, in the immigration, space within TMU in terms of, like, bringing on, like, either traveling professors or so forth,
Mm-hmm.
and through that, I found the person that actually works with international students, and he connected me to another person that knows another person in the space, so, like, a lot of this, like, door
Connections.
a lot of that door
Yes.
opening happened through
Hmm.
through him, and he was very good at understanding, like, what our actual need was and, like, asking the right questions, so
Hmm.
incredibly grateful to him and the doors that he
Yeah.
opened and the way that he helped us frame our thinking around, like, breaking into the B2B
Yeah.
space.
That's great. That's I'm hearing it again and again. So it seems like one of the core values, really, in an incubator and at
Yeah.
DMZ is that
It's the person that you
is
work with,
the
right?
connections and
Yeah.
getting all those.
The
uh,
doors that open,
Yeah.
right? Because, like, I mean, obviously the DMZ space is wonderful and it was really nice to come here whenever I
Hmm.
could, but it's primarily the people that you want to get to meet and the conversations you wouldn't be able to have
Yeah.
without access to this, and the difference is massive.
Great. Amazing. Um, our last section on the podcast is rapid questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you these very, very quick
Yes.
questions and tell me just what comes to mind in a few words. It could be one word, it could be a few words. I have a tendency sometimes to ask follow-up questions when I get
That's
when
fine.
the answer is really interesting.
That's fine.
So my first questions to you is biggest inspiration.
Like person, right?
Anyway, anything that's come to your mind.
Well, when I think of my biggest inspiration, I think of a person that inspired me the most, and I think about the essay that I wrote for college admissions when I was in high school, and it was about Margaret Thatcher.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that
May I ask why?
yes, because I believe it takes to be a very specific kind of woman to stand out during post-colonial Britain's downfall
Hmm.
and make your way into government surrounded primarily by men and not only make it to the government and have like such kind of control over it.
Hmm.
Incredibly inspiring, talented, smart woman that managed to do a lot of difficult work that people before or after her could not really do,
Hmm.
and I feel like a lot of rep that she got that was, like, bad rep, was not entirely fair because, like, she managed to hold things together when nobody could, and I
Hmm.
really, really respect women like that, especially because she just knew she had to get a job done. She
Yeah.
wasn't, like, saying how difficult things were, like, how she couldn't do it or how she struggled with her things, like, "I have a job to do, and I'm gonna do it," and
Hmm.
has been inspiring me since I was, like, 15.
Amazing. Amazing. Core value.
Ooh. I would say a core value is definitely integrity and honesty, but primarily with my own self.
Hmm.
I don't have this I mean, I care about it in other people too, but my main philosophy is like never lie to yourself.
Hmm.
Like, always be honest about where you're at mentally because if you know where you stand on any topic, whether it's especially when you're running a startup, there's so much happening. And if you're
Yes.
deluding yourself about what's going on,
Hmm.
you are gonna crash and burn eventually.
Yeah.
But if you are able to like fully face the music and be like, this is what's happening, this is realistically where I'm at. I have big dreams
Hmm.
and I want to get there, but this is what's happening, then it's a little bit easier to handle the fallout whenever something goes wrong. And I've
Yeah.
seen this over and over again of like
Mm-hmm.
founders that would delude themselves about where they're at because they have this grand dream and don't want to face reality. I
Hmm.
was one of those founders too.
Hmm.
And then something fails, as it inevitably does, and they're like, oh, how did I end up here?
Hmm.
It was always there. You just didn't want to look
Hmm.
the truth in the eye.
Hmm.
So that's why personal honesty and integrity is a very big one
I
for
love
me.
that. I love that. To AI or not to AI?
Obviously, yes to AI. Like, this
But
is it's just it's not even a question to me about yes AI or no AI. For
Mhm.
me, it's more of a question of, like, how it's going to happen.
Mm.
I touched upon this a little bit earlier,
Yes.
but I do think of the AI era the same way that the internet happened. Like, we're going through this, like, pre-dot-com bubble right now with
Mm.
AI,
Yeah.
where a lot of these rappers are gonna blow up within, like, the next 2 to 3 years because nobody needs that many ChatGPT rappers and
Yes.
overpriced productivity tools.
Yes.
And you're gonna have an entirely new age of technology that is fully built on AI. Like instead, people are already saying instead of Googling, I chat GPT'd it.
Mm.
So
But people also will not really even know that it's on AI.
exactly.
And actually, before ChatGPT, people already used a lot of AI. They just didn't know they're using it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
AI was built into multiple things, and now nobody's saying like, I'm gonna have internet." Okay, internet is a given. It's a part of your life now.
Yes.
Even, like, in the most remote parts of the world, people find ways to get internet.
Yeah.
Within the next 20 years, they're gonna have AI seep into absolutely everything.
I still remember how I had to connect my computer to the phone in the
And it does a
hotels.
dial-out
And
sound.
yes.
I was quite young
Uh,
when that was
and it
happening,
was
but I
very
do.
expensive even back then.
But
Uh,
AI is gonna be and I think this,
so,
this AI acceleration is gonna be faster than the internet integration.
mm,
Like, I
mm,
think if internet took, like, a good 20 years to, like, fully take hold, like, AI, I think is, like, gonna take
mm,
10.
things are getting faster for sure,
Yeah.
especially when AI built them. Uh,
Yeah.
proudest moment.
We touched upon this briefly, but I think one of my proudest moments was when I was standing during my citizenship ceremony
Mm,
and when I got my passport 2 weeks later
yes,
and I was looking at my passport, I was like, "Oh my god,
I
this
know.
journey is over." I have been like
I
it
know.
was 10 years or like almost 11 years in the making when I got that passport through 3 countries, all those struggles,
Yes,
application delays,
yes,
and I'm like, I am in a country where I can finally stop thinking about this. I am happy and comfortable here. I
yes,
am working on something that I care about, like, this
yes.
level of freedom and, like, reduction of anxiety, I did not know what to do with myself, like, it was just such a big part of who I was.
And people that are not immigrants don't even realize what immigrants are going through with a lot of those, yeah, with a lot of those feelings and a lot of those
Yeah,
processes and the unknown.
yeah.
Finding a new job when you don't have a visa for that it's
Or, like,
open,
running
or
out of time because your visa ran out and you never figured out the next stage, and it's
yes,
always in the back of your mind eating away
yes,
at you.
yes.
Insane.
I remember our first trip as a family when we all had Canadian passports. My youngest one, she was born over here, so she always had
Yeah.
a Canadian passport. But when me and my wife and my two older girls, we all had Canadian passports, all traveling. We also took a picture, like it was great. Next goal
Ooh, for Immitracker, right?
for anything.
Well, I'm gonna go with Immitracker because it's like one of the biggest things in my life right now.
Mm-hmm,
I would say the next goal as a company and for me would be to find a big partner either in the immigration space or immigration tech or travel tech spaces
mm-hmm,
that we could either merge with or partner with so that we can take something like Immitracker more global. Like just find more like go to the US, like go to
mm-hmm,
the UK, go to more countries, acquire more cases, and like go through them through this partnership or merger or whatever it is, like kind of expand out because it's a lot harder to do that as a bootstrap company.
yeah.
But if you have a partner that's big and has this kind of audience and they want to be like providing these solutions to them, I think it would just be such an organic match
Mm,
and would open a lot of doors for us to serve a much bigger chunk of the
right.
population.
Absolutely. Amazing. Is there anything else you would like to add to our audience?
I know. I just a quick note if anybody is an immigrant or an immigrant entrepreneur here, definitely feel their pain and I know how difficult it was to like get that set up.
Mm-hmm.
And like especially if you're an immigrant entrepreneur, like you just went through like one life-changing experience to start another one.
Yeah.
And all I can say is just keep going because I feel like immigrants are some of the most ambitious and talented people that are capable of doing incredible things just the moment
Mm-hmm.
they believe that they can overcome these
Absolutely.
difficulties.
At that point, thank you so much for joining the
Yeah.
podcast. It
Thank you
was a
so much
pleasure
for
having you.
having me.
I'm sure there is a lot of relevant information in there.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.